Welcome to episode 3. My name is Danielle Stiles, and today we are here with Britt Settle, who is from Britt and the Benjamins, an incredible online course that is going to be launching in January of 2020. But I'm going to let Britt tell you a little bit about her background story, and then we can dive more into her academy.
So, Brittany, I live here in Indianapolis. I am a CPA, so I went to school for accounting and finance here at Marian University in town. And a few years ago, I would say 5 or 6 years, I started a personal finance blog. And that spurred from talking about weddings and different things coming up. One of my friends said, well, her and her boyfriend at the time were kind of waiting because weddings are expensive. Mm-hmm. They were saving up. And another said, well, why don't you just take out a loan? And I was like, red flag.
Yeah.
Don't do that. So I started a personal finance blog kind of as a hobby and started to get more and more into it. It was taking up a lot of my time. So I was like, I'm going to try and monetize this. This was probably year 2-ish or 3 into the blog. And I basically just kept hitting my head against a brick wall because I could not break through to earn the kind of money that I wanted to at that point for all the work that I was putting into it. I tried all kinds of things, affiliate marketing, ads, sponsorships, putting on, I wrote an ebook, putting on like a small course, and just couldn't break through. So I hired a business coach. She's like, why aren't you helping female entrepreneurs? Because at the time, I was working in the finance and accounting realm in my full-time gig. And it was like, light bulb moment.
Yeah.
And so I was like, that's a great idea. So I shifted my business entirely. So with the personal finance blog, it really was just getting content out there. I was writing articles every week, putting it out on Pinterest, doing that.
Okay.
So with the new business that I undertook, it was really more about creating relationships and helping people on an individual level. And I focused a lot more on being relational in that. So with Instagram, now that's where I live on social media.
Yeah.
I put out a lot of value on Instagram just because I think a lot of people are there.
Yeah.
And I still do put out blogs and articles and that kind of thing, but I think the little one-off tips that you see on Instagram or Facebook or things like that,
Right.
they speak to people a little bit better, and everyone has so little time.
It's easier to consume.
It's easier to consume. So that's where I'm kind of like hitting more and more people with that.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. The big component is we get so wrapped up as business owners or as content creators in the space of having to almost over-deliver or like provide these massively resourceful blogs that are very in the weeds and very explicit in the steps that you take, but it's almost paralysis by analysis as a consumer, especially when you're talking about the world of finance where numbers just like, I don't know, for me personally, they just blur together. It's all one big hot mess express until tax time comes.
Right.
And I pull out my bucket of receipts and I'm like, all right, let's get intentional.
Yeah.
And then you're like, let's make a cocktail so I can get through all of these.
Amen.
So let's talk small business. Let's
Yes.
talk when you mentioned your ideal client is starting out. Where's step 1? Where do they go? How do they make this official? In what, the LLC, the sole proprietor? What is that first major step when forming their business?
Yeah, okay, so step 1 that I always tell people is you want to get your business structure set up. So let me explain a little bit about the 3 main business structures I suggest for new business owners or solopreneurs. So first is your sole proprietor. Basically, that's just you saying, I'm a business owner and going out there and, finding clients, getting income. You don't have to register with the state. You don't have to file a separate tax return. There's none of that. The downside is you have zero protection. So if someone were to sue you,
They're suing you.
they're suing you, which means they could take your house, your car, your personal, any money in your personal checking account, and investments, that kind of thing.
So do you ever suggest anyone to set up as
No. When you're like first, like just dipping your feet in, maybe you're like testing out the waters for this business idea. Maybe you have a client or 2. Okay. As you're like kind of getting everything pulled together.
So let's speak in the term of figures.
Mm-hmm.
So at what point should I, from an income perspective, my side hustle, my business, it is generating X and I should be a sole proprietor?
So I would say $500 or less per month
Okay.
if you're making that or less. It's really all about, though, to be honest, the bigger question is how much personal wealth do I have? Because if you have a lot of personal assets,
You need to protect them.
you need to protect them. So it's really not so much about how much am I making, it's how much protection do I really need. So if you're fresh out of college and you're
Right.
sitting on nothing and you just got a whole bunch of debt,
Right.
Yeah.
you don't have a ton to protect. So it's okay to like slowly get into it. But if you're a little more well established and you have some assets to your name, you want to protect them because we hope that nothing ever happens, but you never know when you can get sued.
Yeah.
Especially if you're in a sue happy industry, like,
Mm-hmm.
and you're affecting something that could have a big impact on someone. Like for me, finances. I mean, you're
And
messing with people's finances. That's a big,
Yeah.
touchy subject.
Yeah.
Any service-based industry, I guess, would be a hot item for that.
Yes, 100%.
So do you help support people with brick and mortar locations? So people who have doors they're trying to swing and lots of revenue, right? I mean, anytime you have a storefront, hopefully you have a significant amount of
Right.
transactions that are floating your business. Is that your focus, or who is your target audience?
So, target for the new course that I'm putting out in January, which we can talk about a little later, that is really for service-based businesses. Just because there's a little bit of difference in how you account for service-based versus a product-based
Absolutely.
business, just because there's different costs and things like that. But as for clientele that I help with bookkeeping, tax work, that kind of thing, that's an ongoing, I help both.
Okay, fantastic. So let's talk a little bit about your course that you're going to be launching later this year. The course really exists to serve what stage of business? Am I have an idea stage? I have a business stage? Am I I don't know what to call myself?
Stage, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it's really for someone who they can either be at the start of their business or a little bit into it, but the finance side they haven't paid any attention to. So the goal of the course is really to get your business structure set up correctly. And I walk you through like exactly how to do it step by step. This is all step by step.
Okay.
And it's no fluff.
So is statewide? Is it government? Is it nationwide? How are the rules?
It's nationwide. It's specifically for U.S. based businesses though, because obviously our tax law
Sure.
and different things like that are very different than Canada or Mexico.
So
or Europe.
anybody that's a U.S. based business.
Correct. Yeah.
Okay.
So we walk them through business structure. We go into making sure your bank account's set up, how to track all of your income and finances, and then all the tax stuff that everyone is just like doesn't understand.
That waits until March and says, "Wow, next month."
Oh man, yeah, I gotta get this stuff taken care of. So we go all through that, and it's really just the point is to get everything set up and then have a simple process for you to follow, because the goal of anyone's business is not to spend a lot of time managing their money. It's to have a simple process in place and then go do what they do best. Like even I don't spend a lot of time managing the money in my business. I would say maybe 10 minutes a week, if that.
That's
I'm working on
fantastic.
it. Yeah. And it just depends on the size of your business, obviously.
Sure.
Some are a little more intensive, but you want it to be as simple as possible.
Yeah.
So let's talk taxes while we're at it.
If you aren't trained in taxes and don't know the way like taxes think, it's very hard to make sure that you get all of them. So there's a lot of deductions that entrepreneurs miss, like home office deduction. If you are working from home, you should be taking home office deduction, which is you take the square foot of your office space times $5. There it is. That's your deduction. Tracking mileage is another one.
Do you have the ability to take utilities or expenses associated for internet or whatever it is that you need in order
Yes.
to run your business in your home office?
Absolutely. So what's not included when you do the home office deduction, that kind of takes care of like the rent or mortgage or utility portion of
Okay.
your expenses.
Yep.
But it's not including your internet, your phone bill, telephone, that kind of thing.
Okay.
So whatever business percentage of that you use, that's what you can deduct. So let's say you spend $1,000 on your phone this year. If you say, okay, about 60% of the use of my phone is on business, then you can add that as a $600 deduction on your tax return.
Okay.
And that's something that you can run through your personal account, and at the end of the year, just add it to your tax return. You don't necessarily have to run that through your books. Since
Yeah.
it is kind of a personal and business expense, you can leave that on the personal side.
Yeah, I think clarity on even just some of those matters for me personally is where I get very gray. Like, what if you're going to designate separate bank accounts for this is business, this is personal? Those lines tend to blur.
Yes.
You know, you go to Target and you go through the checkout line, you know, and you try to divide and conquer your items, but it's not always rational. Sometimes they blur. So.
Yeah.
I guess, do you have any advice for people who have those issues? Do you help them manage it, or is there tips and tricks to manage it individually?
Yeah. So I actually have, I think first step is making sure you know what you can run through your business.
Yeah.
Because I do see a lot of people, they don't understand, like Audible. If you are using Audible to listen to business books, personal development for your business, that's a business expense. You can run that through your business. Things like that,
Yeah.
courses, coaches. So I think understanding what you can run through your business is number one.
Okay.
I actually have a tax deduction cheat sheet on my website. And if you
Yes,
go
we
to
love cheat
Yeah, I
sheets.
know. And it's a one pager. It's really simple, but it's like the big things that people need to make sure they're running through their business. And then there's a little piece on like, hey, these are things you actually can't run through your business.
Yes.
So you don't think that you're, gonna have to pay taxes on less money than you do. So you can get that at my Instagram or my website. It's free.
Where do we go? Give us the link.
Okay, so Instagram, you can find me at Brit and the Bee. So that's Brit with 2 T's, A and D, the letter B.
T-A-G.
Yep, letter B. And online, it's BritandTheBenjamins.com. So Instagram's probably the easiest because you can just click on the little link and it's right there.
That's in your bio.
Yes.
Fantastic. Okay, we will definitely drop that in the show notes for people who are driving. Don't write that down.
Yeah.
I'll give it to you later. But that's huge. A one pager to really be able to just kind of check through those things. So is that something that you would recommend people are using as a guide when they're doing it themselves? Or is
Yes.
it best if they're kind of using this as a guide to tee up to whether it's you or whomever their other accountant is?
I think it's good for both because if you're doing it yourself, then you're the one that's kind of managing it all. So you want to have that information. And I think it's also good because even if you are using a CPA or someone, a bookkeeper, because you're the one that's actually swiping the card and putting the expense there. So your bookkeeper's never going to see it if you put it on your personal account when it should be a business expense.
Yeah.
So it's good for you to know what to put through or run through your business account.
I feel like the biggest thing for accounting for me is even knowing what we don't know, right? Even knowing what
Right.
questions I should be asking when it is time for explaining my business to an accountant sometimes is like, oh, it's painful. Like all the different revenue streams and where it comes from and how
Yeah.
it goes in and goes out. So I don't even know the questions I should be asking to best maximize the opportunity of deductions.
So I think the number one question would always be like, okay, what should I explain your business and then say, what should I be looking to deduct? Like, here are some situations I have in my business. Are these deductible? What else do you think could be a deduction for me? And they should be able to explain those pretty well
Yeah.
to you. And then I always say too, if you have a question, you should be able to reach out to your bookkeeper or accountant and just say, hey, is this something I can run through my business? They'll tell you.
So do you do your own taxes or do you?
Oh, no.
Yeah, I would never. Like that's terrifying. But I'm sure there are some people who do. Do you ever suggest that? Like at what point you're like, I better turn this over to
Yeah.
someone like you? Where is that line? Like, I would never ever want to try to even attempt those forms.
Yeah. Yeah. So coming from a CPA, I say, no, you shouldn't do it
Yeah.
Yeah.
yourself. But I understand that everyone is on a budget and sometimes that can be expensive.
Yeah.
But at the same time, even catching one deduction is
Substantial.
substantial. It could cover the cost and then some of what you're going to pay out. So if you don't have any idea about taxes or tax law, you have never had any class in it, you're not schooled in it at all, I would
TurboTax is not the place
Yeah.
to go.
TurboTax is not the place to go. And not saying that TurboTax isn't great, because I totally think TurboTax is great, but it is hard to navigate if you don't know what to look for,
Yeah.
kind of thing.
Yeah. So help me better understand. You talked a little bit about the threshold of which people should be even claiming that they're an income or that they're a business entity. I heard that math was somewhere around $5,000 to $6,000 a year. If you're bringing in revenue, you said $500 a month. You should probably be claiming that. Now,
Yeah, you should always be claiming it on your tax return.
Okay.
There
So
is a
even if you're not at that threshold, you should be claiming it on your personal taxes.
Yeah, as a sole proprietor, it's always going to be claimed on your individual tax return. You don't have to file a separate return.
Okay.
But there is a threshold, and it escapes you right now, of how much income is considered like a business versus a hobby, and
Okay.
when you need to run that, actually put it on your tax return. So I would suggest just always doing, because if you're not earning a lot yet, you're probably expensing
Well, that
more,
was a
and
great
then that'll be a
question.
deduct, and that'll be
How
an
much?
offset.
How much can you deduct for like a startup? What's that number?
In your first year, it's $5,000.
Okay.
Of maximum deductions.
So of these startup expenses.
For one business, say this
Yes.
is just, and down the road
And
you can
then-
have another one if you have another business. Is that how that works?
Yeah.
Okay.
Mhm. It's per
Okay.
business.
Per business.
And then anything above that, before you actually start your business and say doors are open, is amortized over, I believe, 15 years, something like that, which isn't great. But if you keep it below 5,000, everything can be deducted in that first year. So
That's huge. I know a lot of people who run businesses that aren't businesses, but are, right? They're revenue generating. Maybe it's you make something and you sell it on Facebook Marketplace, or you sell it through Instagram, or whatever the case may be, that they won't claim them, or really, frankly, just take themselves seriously as a business
Yeah.
in the world of finances. And many times they could actually be costing themselves money because they could have deducted
Right.
more than their revenue was, and in
Right.
turn saved on their personal taxes. Am I wrong?
you are not wrong. That's exactly right. Yeah.
What are some other ways we can offset those big tax bills? What are some good investments that you maybe suggest to your clients, or you would suggest to a friend?
Yeah. So I would say one, as a self-employed individual, you can have a self-employed retirement account or like a Roth IRA. So a lot of times what you can do is at the end of the year, you can prepare your tax return, see where you're at, and then you can actually make contributions to those through the time that you pay your taxes. So if you see you have a large tax bill and you want to lower that, or if you're on the cusp of a tax bracket
Okay.
and it could lower you to a lower tax bracket, which would save you a lot in taxes, that's one. If you have an HSA, contributing to that is another good one. 'Cause
What's an
that's
HSA?
HSA is a health savings account. So you have to have a medical plan that matches up with an HSA, a high deductible account.
Okay.
So we personally have had an accountant do our taxes for years, and I mean, no one's ever told me that. So
No.
I mean,
No.
you might be getting some new tax clients really soon. Yeah.
I think that that's a big component of this, right? Is you don't know what you don't know.
Right.
And as a business owner who is required to wear all the hats all the time, it's paralyzing almost when it comes to financing.
So right now, I have a lot of people reaching out to me asking for help, and I set up these one-on-one consulting sessions to help them with it. But I only have so much time, which is why
Yeah.
I decided to do the course that's coming out in January to help business owners with this, because it is very confusing and you don't know what's the right step and where do I go and how much is it going to cost me, and then
Yeah.
what's next kind of thing.
Even just that timeline, like the what's next.
Yeah,
You know, like
exactly.
I was like, am I done? Question mark. Like
Yeah.
I think
Yeah.
I'm
Is
done.
this
Yeah.
it? Is there something else I need to do? Yeah, it's very confusing. So, like I said, with the course, very step by step. This is the next thing you have to do. This is what needs to be done to make sure everything's like T's are crossed, I's are dotted.
Fantastic.
And do you have the insurance talk as well? Because I know you're mentioning entity, and you have to make sure the structure of your entity matches how your insurance matches, and
Trademarks.
all the
Oh, boy.
things,
We
Yeah.
could go on.
everything.
So as part of the course, insurance isn't part of it, but the LLC and S Corp protects your personal assets. The insurance protects your business assets a little bit more.
Ooh, I love that.
That's a-
Say that again.
That's it.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's what we need to hear.
So your LLC and S Corp status really protects your personal assets. Your insurance is going to help protect your business assets. Because if someone were to sue you, if you just had the LLC and S Corp without insurance, they can still go after every asset in your business. If you have insurance.
Including if you claim your vehicle as an asset to your business or.
Correct.
Okay.
So if you have the insurance, obviously that's going to help cover
That's huge.
that. They'll be making the payout instead of you writing a check out of your business bank account.
Okay. So speaking of bank accounts,
Yeah.
this is like the paralyzing question for me, right? Which account? What accounts? How do we get them set up? What resources or advice do you offer to somebody who's kind of in that limbo stage between I need to open a business checking account or maybe I have one, but I don't really know if it's the right one.
Yeah. So I always say step 2 after you get your business structure set up is open a business bank account, because mixing personal and business expenses makes it so hard come tax time to figure everything else out. And it also doesn't give you any visibility to how your business is doing. I actually have another freebie on my website. It's a bank account comparison chart. So it's my top 6 that I have found that I think are best for small businesses. And really what I looked for were bank accounts with low or no monthly fees. Here in Indiana, in this Midwest region, Huntington is a great option. That's who I bank with, because you can open multiple accounts, there's no fees, and it's easy to implement, like Profit First, if you've ever heard of that.
I have not. What is Profit First?
Oh, okay, everyone.
Everyone.
This is a book by Mike Michalowicz. I think that's how you say it. Anyways, it's called Profit First, and it's basically an money management method or cash allocation method. So it's basically saying, okay, when money comes in the door, you immediately need to allocate it to certain buckets. It's going to go towards expenses, towards owner's pay, towards paying your taxes, towards like a little bit of profit or extra, like creating a buffer. And it's basically helping you manage your business so that you're earning money, you're paying yourself, your business is paying for your taxes, that kind of thing. And there's a method to it. So you have to have different bank accounts set up.
Okay.
So,
Oh, wow.
I feel like this is something I need to read
Yeah.
immediately.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
really good. It gets a little technical, but it's a good just theory, at least, even if you get into it and you're like, whoa,
So
this is a little
I'm
much.
sure you hear this all the time, Dave Ramsey,
Yes.
right? Does it follow kind of his envelope method?
Yeah, it's basically the cash envelope method for businesses.
The digital version
Yeah.
of the cash.
Okay.
I love
And
that.
it was called Profit First.
Profit First. You'll see it
Fantastic. We
there.
will definitely link that in the show notes below for everybody as well.
Yeah, awesome.
All right. So we've kind of covered the entities of getting started. Now I've got some insurance in place. I've got a bank account.
Yes.
What are we missing?
Okay. The income and expense tracking. So you want to make sure you have some type of software or platform or tool that can track all of your money as it's coming in and going out.
Okay.
So something like QuickBooks
Okay.
or Xero. Those are the two I always suggest.
Or Google Sheets.
Or Google Sheets, yeah. So
You love Google's.
I love Excel. Like I live in Excel.
Uh-huh.
That's good, I say, for people who have about 20, 25 transactions per month or less, just because that's manageable if you're trying to save a little money, be a little budget friendly. Once you get past that, it's easier just to hop on to QuickBooks and have everything run through there.
Okay.
And the reason to have that is much easier come tax time to just, I mean, when it's tax time for me, I literally can just print off a report, slap it on my tax return.
That's
insane.
amazing.
That is it.
That's amazing. I love QuickBooks. I'm
Yeah.
a huge fan of QuickBooks. Everything is there. It can be a little you can link QuickBooks up with your bank account as well.
Yes. And then number 2 is people really should be reviewing their financials or how they're doing in their business every month. And it just helps you make better business decisions 100%.
Say I come to you and I'm, rolling in $30,000 a month. What all do you need? I'm a service-based industry. Say I'm in real estate like Danielle. And what all do you need from me? What are you going to ask for? What are you going to want to see?
As if you're a new client?
As if I were a new client.
Okay. So I want access to your QuickBooks.
Okay.
If you have a POS, like point of sale system, for instance, I help some wedding planners, so Aisle Planner is their POS.
Okay.
So I ask for access to that as well, so I can get in there and see what's going on and tie everything. I ask for prior year tax returns. I want either bank statements or access to your bank account so I can pull statements, that kind of thing. Then I go in, look at everything, and I go through and I ask questions. I'm like, what is this? What is that? What is this? So I can understand your business better. And then from there, each month, I do all the categorization, reconciling everything, make everything all nice and clean and tidy with a little bow on top. And then I review your financials and say, okay, hey, I'm noticing this. What's going on? Is this something like that you feel is important in your business? Is it something we can cut because it's maybe a large piece of your income? Or I noticed, your income dropped here. Maybe is this like a seasonal thing that we need to plan for? That kind of thing. So it's looking for trends, just big outliers, that kind of thing.
So you're helping them cut costs and plan for the future.
And I am so grateful for the resources you've provided. I'm telling you, you are like a wealth of knowledge. I can't wait to take you to coffee and truly, how often do you hear this, right? I want to pick your brain,
Yeah.
right? So what resources do you provide to those who are listening who say, I would love to pick your brain?
Yeah. So you can obviously head to my Instagram. Like I said, that's kind of where I live. So you can always slide right into my DMs there and ask me a question. I give a lot of tips and things within my posts and my stories, so you can always just stick around and catch those. The freebies we mentioned, I think, earlier, the tax deduction cheat sheet, the bank account comparison chart, you can find those on my website at Britt and the Benjamins or on my Instagram. You'll find the links there. Those are, I would say, the 2 major ones. That's where I live. So.
Okay. We're so excited, and we can't wait for your academy to launch. You said January of 2020, right?
January 2020. Yes, I'm so excited. It's really targeted towards the online service-based, one-woman show, getting things off the ground.
The solopreneur.
The solopreneur, yeah, who really just wants, they're a little bit overwhelmed and stressed about making sure everything's checked off and they're doing things right. And so I'm really just providing the platform of step by step, we're going to get you through this. We're going to get things set up in a very simple process, and you'll be able to manage it until you can grow enough to outsource it, hopefully, at one point, because no one wants to do that forever. I know.
No.
Unless you're me. And
Yeah.
So I'm going to put you on the spot. Do we have affordability price? Any information? How much will this cost me for you to guide me through that process?
Yeah, so right now it's going to be $297 for the course, and it's 4 modules, essentially 4 weeks. You also have access to me in weekly Facebook Lives. We'll have our own little group, which you'll be able to be in for 6 months, and then you're going to get kicked out because
All right.
I don't know about you guys, but I hate when I'm in groups that have thousands of people in them, and it's just a clutter of comments and this and that or the other.
Yep.
So I want it to be an intimate Facebook kind of feel where people can ask questions, and then I'll go live weekly and you can ask me personal things because everyone's going to be in a different state and have different
Yeah.
kind of situations, so I can answer those questions there.
Fantastic. Thank you so much.
You are welcome.
This has been so incredibly enlightening. I don't know about you,
good.
Chess, but I've serious to-do list items for myself.
I'm just
Sorry.
thinking
No.
in my head what I need to go write down, like as soon as we're done. Oh my gosh.
So lots of show notes for this episode. We are so grateful for the opportunity to provide Brit to you as a resource. I think the biggest aspect of our businesses that we all need to be reminded of is that we're valuable and we're profitable,
Yes.
and we have assets that we have to be protecting.
Mm-hmm.
So if you're not protecting your assets today, we really encourage you to connect with Brit. If you're in a sad state of boxed receipts affairs,
Yes.
there is no shame in the game, but there
No
is
shame, no judgment.
absolute judgment if you are in those state of affairs and you're not putting proper steps in order to truly protect yourself and your business.
Yeah.
So we hope that you'll connect with Brit, and we will see you guys in the next episode.